Hello, welcome back to Board Game Bananas. Here are the bananas, the board game is Castle Panic. Welcome to my review. So, if you saw my breakdown of how to play Castle Panic, you'll know that I'm a big fan of this game. One of the things that makes it so great, in my opinion, is it's quite intuitive. You know, you're in a castle, you're being attacked by monsters, kill the monsters, don't die. That's the premise. There's so many games that you play these days where you're thinking to yourself, okay, I've got to move around the board, I've got to collect this, I've got to do that, I've got to drop that off over there, I've got to kill this, I've got to do that. This game, very, very simple and intuitive in what the premise of the game is. Quite simply, you're in a castle, you're being attacked, kill the things that are attacking you before they kill you. It's a very straightforward premise of a game, that is. And that's actually one of the things I've noticed when I've been explaining the rules to people and when I've been playing with my friends, is that people get into this game very, very quickly. When there's plenty of us playing, and some people are maybe playing for the first time, some people have played it multiple times before, you know, the people who have played a long time before, usually they have some kind of advantage because they perhaps have more strategic insight and that kind of thing. That's not really the case with this game. With this game, when you're playing it for the first time, you can basically play it as well as somebody who's played it, 50 times before. And in that regard, it's a very good game to bring out at social occasions and play with your friends. People appreciate not being the idiot in the room because they're playing the game for the very first time. That's one of the things I've noticed. This game I would describe as a family game. You know, it says 8 years plus on the box. I haven't actually played it with children myself, but I have, when I've been reading online about other people's experiences with the game, people have said that kids really, really like this game because of how intuitive it is and how sort of simple it is for them to understand. That being said, of course, no game is completely without its flaws. One of the things I've noticed people saying about this game online is, I like a more strategic game, and I like a game where I can think about my moves in more detail and I can plan things in advance. Hey, if you like that kind of game, good for you, but you probably shouldn't be buying a game that says 8 years plus on the box. Another maybe con of the game, you might say, is that I can find the ending a little bit anticlimactic. You know, you can find yourself in a situation where maybe there's only one monster left on the board at the end of somebody's turn. You know, you move the monster one step inwards, there are no new monsters to come onto the board at the end of the go, and then it's the next person's turn. And say there's only one monster left and they've got maybe 1 point of health left. You know you're going to win because there's a wall for them to destroy, there's enough towers remaining, so you already know at that point that you're going to win. And you know, the very, very best games, they finish with that one final dice roll that's very much make or break for you or make or break for your team, and it's all decided on that one dice roll. In this game, you often know that you're going to win, you know, sometimes even a few moves before you actually do, and then there's that one monster left that's suddenly got to destroy multiple, like it's got to destroy a wall and then multiple towers, and you think, well, it physically can't do that. That actually brings me on to the second big con that I find with this game is, I don't mean this in a show-off kind of way or anything like that, but literally every single time I've played this, we've ended up on the winning side. And that's regardless of whether I'm playing with just me and my wife, or if we're involving some siblings of mine, or some friends of ours, or another group of friends of ours. We've played this game with multiple people, multiple different groups. Every single time we've ended up on the winning side. And again, that is perhaps not the best indication of a game. You want a bit more jeopardy in there, perhaps. Interestingly, one of the variants that they talk about in the rules, if you're finding the game a little bit too easy, you're supposed to start with 6 of the walls surrounding the castle. We found that if you start with 3 and just leave the other 3 out for a minute, the game suddenly does become a lot harder, because as the monsters get closer to the castle, you don't get that basically free hit at the monsters when they take a health point in destroying the wall. So that is absolutely something I would recommend for people who are finding the game a little bit too easy. There are also other variants that the rulebook talks about for making the game a little bit more difficult. One thing perhaps is to start with no walls at all is another way of doing it. People have also said other variants, you bring on 3 monsters instead of 2, and that kind of thing. Personally, I find starting with slightly fewer walls in the beginning does help even the playing field a little bit. One other thing that I do think is worth bringing up, and you can decide for yourselves if you think this is a plus or a minus for the game. One time we were playing 6-player, and my friend, his kid was making some noise in another room. He had to go and deal with that. And usually what would happen at that point, when one of the players leaves the table, is you'd have to pause the game, because it doesn't really work without that player present. They're not able to make their decisions and things like that. This being a cooperative game, we were very much able to continue playing even though one player wasn't physically in the room. And then even when it got to that person's turn, we were able to draw cards for them. We keep the cards visible on the table, so it's not exactly a secret. And then we were able to sort of combined work out what we thought that player should be doing with their turn. So basically, we were able to continue the game and even have a go for a player that wasn't present in the room. Personally, I think that's quite a neat feature of the game. That if you're busy, if you're parents, if people have to get up quite a lot, that does that doesn't exactly stop or hinder or pause the game in any way. So, in conclusion, it's a great fun family game. I think you'll enjoy it. You'll enjoy playing it over and over and over. I think your kids will enjoy it as well. It's a great game to play with all of the family. I give this 4 out of 5 bananas. I think it's a very, very good game. Again, not perfect, not without its flaws, but it's a very intuitive, easy to understand game that you can play with absolutely anybody. If you haven't played it yet and you'd like to know more about the rules, I do have a video for that on my channel. And yeah, enjoy. Take care.